Hi, I'm Brother Levi. This is Brother Brad, and you're watching AskBrotherBrad.com, where you have Bible questions, we have Bible answers. This week's episode is kind of serious. They're all serious, but this one's extra serious. Brother Brad, I don't know if you've heard that Robin Williams passed away. And it's looking like, from what I've read, that he committed suicide. Now, the reason why I bring that up is that some people say that suicide is the unpardonable sin. Brother Brad, what does the Bible have to say about that?
Well, suicide is not the unpardonable sin. In fact, there's a lot of people in the Bible that tried to commit suicide. Jonah tried to commit suicide, and he was one of God's prophets. They threw him overboard, and he was hoping that the sea would take his life, even though God had a great fish ready to swallow him. Elijah, because of Jezebel's hatred towards him, ran and fell under a tree and asked God to kill him. One guy in the Bible's in the Hall of Faith that actually committed suicide, and that would be Samson. And now, I don't suggest anybody commit suicide to get into the Hall of Faith, but he got in it for a certain reason. And it just happened to be that he pushed the pillars and killed 3,000 Philistines, and killing himself in so doing. But that's what he was called to do. That was his life, directed by God, was to fight the Philistines, who were the enemies of God. Suicide is not the unpardonable sin. The unpardonable sin is saying no to salvation. The unpardonable sin is saying no to the plan of salvation that the Holy Spirit tries to convince people to believe. We're sinners. Our sin has a price. It's hell. And God says if you'll just trust Jesus, He'll give you salvation. It's Christ's work, not ours. And so when we trust that, we're pardoned. So let's say we're pardoned and we commit suicide. You can't commit the unpardonable sin if you've already been pardoned. So suicide can't be the unpardonable sin.
Now, the question that follows up, this man was wealthy beyond anything me or you can even imagine.
Or will imagine.
Or will imagine. He was famous.
Yeah.
And not only was he famous, he was beloved. Now, why is it that people like this commit suicide?
In Robin Williams' case, and I've watched a lot of his movies and have enjoyed his movies. Great actor, tremendous comedian, but he had a $35 million villa, I believe, and from what they were saying, he was unable to maybe make some payments, and that kind of discouraged him. And of course, he had depression, and that played a part of it. But he was so focused on the temporal that he didn't have the eternal perspective. And anybody that fails to have the eternal perspective, and by the way, the eternal perspective should be built in to all of us, because isn't that what Solomon said in Ecclesiastes?
Yeah, he said God has placed eternity in our hearts.
There it is. I mean, that was built into Robin Williams' heart, but he disregarded that and kept focused on the material things. And by the way, that should show all of us that focusing on the material doesn't prove you're going to have a good life. I mean, there's a lot of actors, there's a lot of athletes that have gone down the tubes because of money, because they focused on money. And it's not money, it's the Messiah that we ought to focus on. It's the eternal, not the temporal.
I heard a quote by somebody that said something along the lines of, money can buy us fun, but it can't buy us happiness.
Yeah. It can buy us a bed, but it can't buy us sleep.
Yeah.
It can buy us medicine, but it can't buy us health. And it goes on and on. And so this is the problem. People are so focused on the temporal that they lose the eternal perspective. And what's sad is eternity is in our hearts, just like you said. It's there. God put it there. Put it in our spirit. But you ignore it for too long, and before you know it, it's not speaking to you at all. And I'm afraid that it stopped speaking to Robin Williams.
That sounds like truth from God, and thank you for sharing. If you like this video, be sure and like this video, and also be sure and hit the share button and share it with your friends. We'll see you next time on AskBrotherBrad.com.